Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lunchtime Hour with Jose and myself, now both in a multi-million-dollar studio. As you can see, we are making quite a lot of money on always money down stock, which is basically AMD.
What's going on, Neil? I got a funny one I got here from Martin. Another never down again, Nvidia. So that's pretty good. I like that. But yeah, Neil, how's it going, man? It feels like forever since we last talked, but it's been like 48 hours. So a lot has happened in 48 hours, right?
Yep. I mean, actually, yeah, it does feel like a long time, but actually it's been only 2 days. So
Yeah. So just quick shout out to Martin, shout out to Greg, shout out to GC, Cheyenne, Lisa, everybody here on the channels. Like always, we'll talk about semiconductors, Neil, and any tech related, right? And Neil loves his fintech stocks and other stuff as well. So definitely, if you want to get any questions, feel free to pop them up there. Skittles, thanks for joining us. I know it's super late at your side of the world. Neil, there were, I want to say Tuesday, we had some cool earnings. Last night, we had some interesting earnings. I want to say for me, Google and AMD were probably the ones I'm more interested to talk about right now. Anyone you want to pick off first?
yeah, there were a lot. I mean, Uber, we both own. They also got hit, but today I think the stock is rebounding quite nicely. But yeah, let's touch on AMD and Google. I think those were probably the most interesting ones to talk about right now. So we could start with AMD. Maybe first the good things, and then we'll jump into the bad ones.
All right, Neil, I'm gonna throw out some of the top of the good things I saw. So the first good thing I saw is the PC client side was doing well. We saw kind of that nice pickup here. And unlike Intel, right, Neil, unlike Intel, they believe it's actually going to continue in the upcoming quarters, where Intel last earnings mentioned that, hey, look, they saw some pickup this quarter, but this upcoming quarter might not be as strong. AMD kind of said the opposite, which was, I think, really, really good. The other things is, I'm pretty sure you're going to mention this one as well, was the movement up of the MI350, where it was supposed to happen in the in the late half of this year. Now it's going to mid of this year. So I think originally it was going to go maybe November, December, like their typical time frame on releases. I'm guessing now it's going to be maybe July, August. I don't know when exactly. I don't think they gave an actual month on the release date. But I want to say those are what I think two of the big things about it. With the MI350 Neo, they talked about potentially net new customers there in the hyperscale that they're shipping to them, not a guaranteed, but they're getting more interest from big players for the 350 at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is also something that we've spoken about before. The client side of the business might not be as sexy as the data center one, but it's one that is growing. The server business is doing very, very well for AMD. Actually, did better than the data center and still expected to be better than data center. And I mean, that's a very, very big positive in my opinion. But yeah, the moving up on the timeline with regards to the MI350, that's very, very nice to hear. And I'm quite surprised that the stock didn't really react when this was said. But we go from second half 2025 to now mid 2025, which could probably be Q2. I mean that should be a good boost. Then one of the last comments, remember on the earnings call, someone asked about the exit rate for the GPU, and she said like absolutely we're going to exit 2025 much better than 2024. um, yeah, those were in my opinion good positives. Of course we're gonna have to talk about the negative side of things, which is probably why the stock is down. So I'll let you go at it because this is something that you predicted.
Yeah. The first thing is no guidance, right? No guidance. The company's saying, hey, look, for the first year, we gave you the GPU guidance because it was such a new business for us, right? It was somewhere where we weren't really making money out of. And we jumped it from a 0 to a $5 billion in 1 year. So we wanted to give you that insight. Now for this year, they are just kind of lumping it up with the data center market. I don't know how happy I am about that. But the other thing, Neil, I think to kind of follow suit with that, they mentioned that their gaming market, at least their gaming CPUs, are going to now be part of the client market as well. So it's kind of, I guess they're trying to do everything for the same stuff to make sure people don't complain too much. But I mean, investors, especially right now, want to know what for AI, right? What's going on with AI? What do you expect? How much growth can we see?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, well, they're going to report now in three segments, right? Data center, client, and embedded. But they did say that they're going to provide the useful information inside of client, whether it's gaming or the other things. So that's fine. But yeah, the fact that they tried so hard not to answer the obvious question here was a bit strange to me, right? Because on the one hand, if you're doing that, then either you want to keep your cards quite close to yourself, or two, you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen, so you don't want to commit to that. Um, but yeah, that's the main reason, in my opinion, that the stock is down even more now because of that uncertainty. On the flip side, I think it's an opportunity because that 350 launch is going to be earlier than expected. I think, plus the client side of the business, server, all of that doing quite well. I think it will be an opportunity.
And Neil, one thing that I think this might be the last point before we look at some questions is they did talk a lot about the ASIC market um, in their earnings call. And this isn't the first time AMD has really done this. They talked about it, at least for the data center side. They talked about it in a conference early in mid-June of 2024. And that got me kind of curious about it. So I think they use their ASIC discussion very similar to the custom chips. So they kind of like mix and match here. And the first thing is they are creating custom CPUs for Amazon right now. So there's a version of their Genoa, which is their fourth generation EPIC, which they have customized. I forget if it's Microsoft or Amazon. It's one of those two players. But it's with one of them. I think it actually might be Microsoft. I forget. It's one of those two, but regardless, they're doing that. And it seems like they're opening up the opportunity of maybe doing that for the AI accelerator market as well, which I do believe could be another opportunity for them to kind of grab some money here in the AI space. So, as an Nvidia investor, let me just say, not worried about any of this, nowhere near close. But for AMD going from 5 billion to 10 billion, you won't really notice that for Nvidia, but for AMD, it's 100% growth. It's very, very crucial. Um, so yeah, those are the final things. Anything you want to add to that ASIC market before we start taking some questions, Neil?
No, I think we're hearing more and more about that since that mid 2024 conference, which is quite interesting. I do think you're right. I do think it's Microsoft. I think Amazon is more for Intel, that
Yes,
partnership,
Amazon is
I
Intel.
believe. Um, but yeah, I mean, one last thing with the data center thing, like she said, it's going to be a multi-billion dollar, tens of billions of dollars of revenue in the future, which again, a lot of people got excited about that, but wasn't that a given? I mean, obviously that's going to be a business that will generate tens of billions of dollars. The big question was, are you going to generate the first 10 billion this year or not? Which is probably why the stock also didn't really care about that comment. But talking about Nvidia, I think you would like to answer maybe this one right here. I think this is
Yeah.
something we already touched about 2 weeks ago,
All right.
but let's do it
Yeah.
again.
So, Greg, well, what about Nvidia likely also entering consumer CPU space later this year? That could be a hit. Um, I think, I- I think something, Greg. I think something like this will be more a big hit in stock price action to see how the market reacts to it. I think the market will react to it a lot harder than the actual numbers or the factual numbers of how it can impact AMD. I think stuff like that will create volatility. I think NVIDIA entering the CPU space would be very unique scenarios and very high tier markets. I don't think they're going to go out for the consumer cheap laptops, the consumer mid level. I think it's going to be purely if they enter the consumer CPU, right? They have their digits. The digits is something else. The digits are more for your engineers, your machine learning scientists, anybody who really wants those heavy workloads. But for the consumer space, digits is not that. And there have been rumors that NVIDIA is going to create something for the consumer space. I think if they do, it has to be something very, very niche within the consumer space and only focused in high margins. So not sure how much it would truly impact AMD outside of the market reaction, right? I think market reaction might be heavier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of people are missing with regards to digits, right? It's a $3,000 device, Linux based, that is supposed to work with your workstation. It's not something that will work without it. So yeah, it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing, but I don't think that right now it's going to hurt a business like AMD. Plus, I mean, if Nvidia does start to focus on CPUs, remember Nvidia has always said that GPUs are going to take everything. Well, now we're actually seeing that a lot of GPUs can have their time in the sun, right? With that DeepSeek moment, you can run a lot of things with your CPUs. You don't need expensive GPUs. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think, like you said, it's going to be a news type of thing that will impact the stock. I just don't see it impacting AMD's business anytime soon, or Intel's.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
again, Intel's business is already getting hit.
Yeah, a next question here for AMT, Neil Jose. I was wondering about MI300. It's creating kind of this effect where it might slow the demand for the MI325. And I think the answer is yes, Neil, right? I think during the earnings call, AMT, Lisa Su even kind of led to this where she mentioned that she expects data center, especially the GPU side, to be on par for how it was this quarter. So not much growth in the first half. They expect much of their growth coming into the second half and kind of correlating more to the 350. Nathan, I think that's true. It seems most buyers for AMD at the moment are probably pausing on the MI325 and waiting for the 350.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's why. I mean, MI 325 is ramping up already, and so the fact that they're going extremely quickly to the next one tells you what they think about that product, and it's good. It's good to hear that they're moving on quite quickly, so that period is very short.
Neil, this one is, I heard some rumors. I don't know if you've heard any rumors right now about Intel's new CEO. No,
Uh,
you, you, I guess you're not in the super dark trenches of Reddit right now. In the super dark trenches of Reddit, there are posts discussing that recently, I think Global Foundries CEO just retired, not retired, stepped off from his current position. And around the same time, of the announcements, um, Intel made some interesting sales that usually value to what you normally pay a new CEO coming in. So there's some sleuth in the internet finding these types of questions. So there are some rumors right now that are getting closer and closer that I think it's Global Foundries CEO is going to be pushing into Intel. Let me just double check Global Foundries CEO beside. But I definitely know. Yep, one day ago, Global Foundry CEO Thomas steps down. So now there, those are the new rumors floating around right now, Neil.
Okay, interesting, interesting. I guess my application didn't make the cut, but it would be a good one because Global Foundries is an amazing, amazing company. So it would fit also the Intel Foundry business. Plus, yeah, no, it actually does make sense. It makes a lot of sense, to be honest, because Global Foundry is a very good company. Plus, Intel products will still be led by MJ. So, okay, not bad.
So we'll see. But let's see if those rumors are true, and if I should stay in those dark places of Reddit where I find some of these random rumors. Um, Sorry, getting a call. My brother doesn't know I'm streaming. Let's see. Any questions you see here? But first, Martin, yep, Amazon is today after hours. I'm pretty excited about this, Neil, right? Every other hyperscaler has mentioned that they have more demand than capacity. Um, I'm hoping Amazon says the same thing.
I mean, yeah, because I think he might repeat the same thing again and again. That I don't know, 80+% is still on-prem, etc., etc. So there's still a lot of way to go in the future. But I also think that a lot of things will just stay on-prem and not go to the cloud. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've seen Microsoft and Google miss on their, let's say, cloud numbers. Let's see if AWS does the same. We'll see. A couple of hours left. It's my second largest position, Amazon, so pretty important. But hopefully it's going to be a good
Uh,
report.
And Neil, right? Talking about that, it seems like sometimes it seems like a bearish case. Hey, look, where's this? How are they missing AI growth, cloud growth, if they're spending all this money in capex? But I think Google explained it really well. I haven't really listened to Microsoft's earnings call just yet, Neil. That's still on my to-do list. But Google pretty much mentioned that it's more of a capacity thing. They just didn't have the capacity built out, and capacity is very it fluctuates a lot, right? I mean, building up a data center, turning on a system, and all this takes time. You might have a hiccup where maybe you're just funny. Let's say your power cord didn't come on the right day; it came on a day after, and it kind of pushed everything outside it. Your GPU didn't come on the right day; something missed, helped push the deadline, or push the schedule a week off, and it just didn't turn on time. And things like that can impact growth, but they continue to invest heavily in capex, AI infrastructure, and they continue to say that it's not a demand issue; it's more a supply issue. But now I wonder if there's an issue with the pricing, and maybe that's what investors are going to start thinking. Hey, if you have such a demand issue, can't you just increase prices to be able to get even more and more revenue growth? So I wonder if that's a question that maybe investors might be having.
Yeah, interesting. I think I remember Satya Nadella saying in one of the podcasts that they are energy constrained. I believe he said. So maybe that might have been one of the reasons. Because I mean, we can repeat the same thing again and again. They're still growing 31% year over year on a much bigger dollar amount. So it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. I do
Neil,
have a
question here.
question.
Go ahead. Yep.
A quick question, unrelated, from Blake. He asks, "Are you sad you missed out on the Palantir run up?" So I want to ask you, if you own a stock from around $10 or so and it goes all the way to 70, did you miss the run up because the stock went afterwards from 70 to 100, or is that still a miss?
I don't know. I don't consider it a miss at all, Neil. Um, I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, it's all personal finance, right? If you're willing to take that $70, I actually sold some around those levels too. So um, maybe we're just coping together, Neil. Here,
I mean, I would have loved to make more, of course, from 70 to 100. That's another nice little chunk. But I think I did fine. I did fine. So missed the run up. I don't think I missed the run up. If I would have sold at 20, then yes, but I didn't.
If you would have sold that 15, that's a whole different story. 15 to 100% gain, but 7x, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Let's see, Neil. I like this one right here from Gores. Amazon copes with Intel, AMD, or Broadcom on chips. Um, they use AMD chips and Intel chips for their CPU. Like Neil mentioned earlier, they actually even have a custom chip with Intel. In forms of custom GPUs, they're Trainium, they're actually using Marvell, not Broadcom. So Marvell is the winner there. That's why, if you notice, after Amazon reported that they're building a massive, I think 400,000 Trainium chip, you saw Marvell stock price kind of skyrocket. So yeah. So Intel, AMD, and Marvell are the main ones. Neil, I actually didn't talk up to you about this. I was just reading Intel canceled their Falcon Shores.
This is something they mentioned during the earnings call. It's only going to be used for in-house purposes. They're going to learn whatever they need to learn about it, and then they're going to focus on the next one. They want a full rack scale system to be ready for the next one. So yeah, Falcon Shores it's canceled basically. It's going to be used only for in-house purposes. But yeah, that's something they mentioned, like poof, just like that during the earnings call.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Neil. Let's see. What else do we have here, Neil? Anything you're liking right
Lots
now?
of
Any questions?
questions about SMCI. I think SMCI got some good news yesterday, right, about some Nvidia Blackwell stuff. But I mean, it's still like a swinging pendulum, right? It's whether or not they do file on time. I believe they still have 20 days. So
Yeah. And to me, I think that's super micro news. Was actually very bullish for Nvidia, in my opinion, because a lot of rumors every month, Neil. A lot of rumors about delays of Blackwell, and all this, and then Supermicro comes out that they're in full production of all Blackwell systems, the B200 liquid, the B200 air cooled, and the GB200, which is the system that has been discussed of being delayed due to some issues. So I think that just kind of adds more evidence that maybe these delays are not as true as people make it seem.
yeah, no, agreed. It's the thing with Supermicro is it's a very important company. It's just that the stock, you don't know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah. For the stock, I thoughts on the stock, I am not even worried about it. Like you mentioned, this is more of it's all going to determine on any news that comes out. That's what's really going to drive the stock for the next few days. Or how many days do you believe we have, Neil, for it? 20 days or so?
Yeah, they have until the end of February. I think February 25th, if I'm not mistaken. And beforehand, they'll have their preliminary earnings numbers unaudited, probably.
Couch, I mean, Neil, this is true here. Are you sad without a couch? Nice background. How about we have to get one for you, Neil, that has a fancy couch in the back instead with computers all over. That would be better.
It's in the works. I'm writing the prompt down and making sure that the next one has a super fancy couch in the background.
Definitely, that would be awesome. Let's see. We have this question here from Greg. Google, you're not concerned about new AI companies using next generation style search, leapfrogging, and absolute old school style Google search. I mean, Neil, I think it's somewhat of a concern, but I think you just gotta move with it. I think during their earnings call, Neil, Google mentioned how their AI overview is already getting monetized, or they're in the early stages of it. So Google is moving with it. So as long as they're moving with it, that concern gets pushed a little bit less. But obviously, I guess something to think about. But Google still being the main search, and then providing their own AI overview might be able to help out with something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to switch to Google in just a second, just finishing up on AMD. But with Google, yes, there is also Circle to Search that is doing extremely well. the whole search business has already changed. Every year it's already changing quite rapidly. So that 10 blue links thing already, I mean, in my opinion, doesn't exist for a couple of years now. When you ask something on Google, it usually already gives you a small answer, then a couple of frequently asked questions, a little summary on the site. So that has changed a little bit, but it's always a concern, of course, with generative AI, chatbots, and all of that. That could hurt their. I mean, even their own Gemini, right, could definitely cannibalize their business. And no, guys, don't worry, it's not going to be a black leather couch in the background. It's going to be a way more fancy one. So yeah, a last thing here with regards to AMD. Since now you and I are bag holders of that company, well, your bags are much better positioned than mine. Um, what's when would you start adding back, and what would be your like prediction where things start to move in the right direction?
So, I mean, Neil, I'm dollar cost, like you mentioned, I've been in AMD for a while, so still in the green here. I right now's our levels. I am dollar cost averaging and adding to my positions, right? Um, when is it going to turn around? I don't know. And Neil, this is the fun thing about long term investment, right? Is when I look at AMD, maybe it might not look good in the next year or the next 2 years. But if I look at it in the next 5 years, I think AMD is going to completely destroy the overall market. And I'm not here to time it if it's going to be year one, year two, year three, or year four. I could care less if it happens in year four, right? If it gives me the opportunity to add all those years. I mean, Tesla is a perfect example, right, Neil? For I think 4 to 5 years, that stock was quiet and everybody said it was a bad stock. But then obviously, if you timed it perfect and you bought it in recently, you did great. But all those that were accumulating during those low phases still did amazing. Same with Nvidia. So I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think the MI350 is going to help out. I think the MI400 is going to help out. I think it's not going to catch up to Nvidia. I'm never saying that. I think Nvidia is still going to be the leader, but I think AMD is going to reduce the friction it has with its customers little bit by little bit. That it's going to allow them to sell more in the AI space. More importantly, the PC market. More importantly, that turnaround story in the embedded market. The embedded market is such a cash flow machine for them, Neo, when that one is running. So when you have those three headwinds, it's just sit and wait and see when all those faucets turn back on and you see a nice dripping nice improvements in everything from earnings per share to revenue.
Voila, that's the answer. No, and I agree. I agree. Also, as we go from all the training era to a more inferencing AI application building era, I think they are going to be quite a big player. I'm not saying they're going to be better than Nvidia or anything like that, but if we've seen anything in the last couple of weeks, is that apparently you can reach significant results even if you don't use CUDA, NVIDIA CUDA. So I think AMD, I mean, Lisa Su, that's also the thing. I said it at the end of my video because I've seen way too many comments of people shitting on her. Like, oh, she's a bad CEO and this and that. But guys, without Lisa Su, there's no AMD today. She came in 10 years ago. This thing was worth $2. She turned it all around. I mean, bigger than Intel today by 2x. So yeah, without Lisa Su, I don't even like. If Lisa Su tomorrow leaves, I don't even think I'm thinking about buying shares of AMD.
I would have to echo that, Neil. Lisa Su is very crucial for AMD's growth. Um, while she might not seem as visionary as some of these other players, from her discussions I've heard about her, she's a mean machine when it comes to efficiency, which is very, very important.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, she has that. I mean, she's in the Jensen One family circle.
Yes.
She's a killer, really. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't bet against her. Um, Before we jump into the Google thing, I think there are some couple of questions that pop up a couple of times with regards to Celsius. Celsius, the stock has been hit quite a lot. I'm going to wait for the next because I have a very very small position which is down quite a lot. we'll see. We'll see what earnings brings. There were some positive comments in the Pepsi earnings call about the energy market, so we'll see what happens. Could I sell? Maybe could to use the money for something else. I don't mind, even if it's in the red. I'll use the money maybe to buy more AMD or more Uber or whatever is coming down, because recently the market doesn't really care about good earnings, bad earnings. Everything comes down unless you're some meme stock, then that goes up.
Yeah. Yeah, Celsius just needs to change its name to Quantum Celsius or something like that, and that's all you need for this stock to jump. Star Buccaneers, Lisa Su has a PhD in electrical engineer. Yep, she's super smart. Um, One of my favorite things is she's an engineer, and I think to run these businesses, that's the type of mentality that you need to have. Um, Let's see. We have one from Jeffrey. Jeffrey had the sentiment on AMD is really ugly right now. It's hated stock. Once the sentiment swings, the stock should rally a lot. Who knows when that will happen? Exactly, Jeffrey. Right. I think sentiments I actually enjoy following the opposite sentiment, except for Nvidia, right? I mean, Nvidia's done amazing, um, but we've talked about Nvidia before the nice sentiment, and I think that's the case, right? It's good to look at. I'm not saying that's the ultimate bullish case, but to look at stocks when they're not popular, because eventually they become popular. I mean, I'm pretty sure investors of Palantir would say the same. Palantir, it was great when it was not popular. Same with Tesla. Tesla was great when it was not popular. Now that is popular, maybe not as attractive as it was before.
Agreed. I feel much better buying AMD when everybody starts hating the stuff and the company continues to do okay. That's usually better than when people are saying, "Oh, this is the next $2 trillion company," blah blah blah. Give me your shares. Give me your shares. Thank you very much.
Neil, we have one here. Sundar needs to go. Maybe in the minority here. Thoughts there, Neil?
I did a CEO list a year and a half ago or something like that. Sundar was definitely at the bottom of that list when I compared him to Jensen, Zuck, Tim Cook, Elon, and all of that. He would probably still be at the bottom. No, maybe Tim Cook would now be at
I
the
was going to say
bottom.
Tim is probably in my
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah. But I mean, he's slowly but surely turning things around with Google. Could another CEO do a better job? Maybe, yeah, maybe. But I don't think him going right now will change that much. I think they are
Yeah.
in the right direction. A year ago, we could have had a different conversation.
Um, Neil, would you prefer just so is Microsoft CEO higher than Google CEO on your CEO list? And is it by
Of
much?
course,
Yeah.
yes. Satya is up there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like he has the dog in him. That guy, like he acts pretty calm and collective, but I'm pretty sure behind meetings, this guy like eats people up. Um,
Yeah, I mean, since he became CEO of Microsoft, he completely dominated and changed the business.
yeah, yeah. So I get if I was to rank, I think the Max 7. I think Tim Cook would be last, and then second to last would be Sundar. Um, but yeah, I mean, interesting thoughts here. Any other questions you see here, Neil, that you want to grab? I'll look some up real quick.
Before no, I think we can touch on Google's earnings.
Um, I mean, Neil, if I'm gonna be honest, the only things I care, even though I do own Google, only two things I care about: AI infrastructure. I like to see advertisement growing, right? That's obviously great, but I'm at the moment, I'm really cared about their Google Cloud growth and obviously capex for my other investments. Capex $75 billion, insane. And they mentioned they're going to continue to invest in AI infrastructure because they are capacity constraint. So, I mean, I think that just showcases where the AI space is. Um, so yeah, I mean, growth in advertisement, growth in cloud, limited in cloud due to supply, not demand, is always a great case. And it's also a great case when your other players, when your other competitors are in that same avenue, right? Neil, if Google was the only one that was lacking in capacity, then I would consider that a red flag. But if everybody else is lacking in capacity, then it tells me it's still a fair game for everyone.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, Google's business is still doing quite well. Advertising part still going up. Okay, Google Network has coming down a little bit, but all the rest still doing very well. YouTube growing rapidly and dominating the streaming market. Okay, it's a bit different than Netflix, but still, you buy the Google business, you buy a tremendously good business. Plus, you get that call option on Waymo. They did say that the next generation vehicle for Waymo costs are coming down rapidly. So this whole bear case of, oh, they can't scale, it's super expensive. No, the cost of each and every generation of their vehicle is coming down extremely, extremely quickly. So yeah, if the market gives me an opportunity to buy more, I'll buy more because this is still it's extremely powerful business. I mean, how many products? I think they said they have 7 products with 2 billion users, and all of those products have Gemini. So I mean, when you have such a great distribution, you still have insane talent inside the company, AI research teams. It's really difficult to bet on a company like Google.
For sure, Neil. I like this question. It kind of correlates here good with Google's capex. When the big tech co's say they need to spend more on capex, expand cloud, etc., which company will benefit the most from that spending? So a lot of players, right? Wendy, here you kind of have like your AI accelerators, your CPUs, whoever's used for the cooling system, who's ever used for the power generation or for the electricity, whoever goes and building the actual data center. So there's a lot of players. It's usually concentrated though, Neil, if you're looking at more concentrated players on the AI accelerator space. So in forms of dollar amount, Neil, I would say Nvidia is the biggest winner in forms of dollar amount. But I think the stocks nowadays to benefit the most are usually the smaller players, your ASIC solutions. The reason being, right? So let's say you have an extra $20 billion in capex versus last year. If you give like 12 billion of that to Nvidia and just making numbers up, the percentage growth is not as high if you're going to give like still a small 5 billion to maybe a Broadcom or 5 billion to Marvell or 5 billion to AMD, for example. So, well, Nvidia gets the most likely the biggest market wallet in forms of which one might impact the stock the most. It might be the smaller companies because while they are getting a smaller market wallet, their revenue growth is starting from a smaller base, so their growth rate is actually much higher, which investors enjoy a lot. So that's how I see it. I don't know if I might be looking at it the wrong way, Neil.
No, I think you're correct. Also, I mean, when they say 75 billion, it's important to know that a lot of that, especially for Google itself, is for internal use, internal build outs. They're doing probably the most out of all of the hyperscalers inside of their own companies. So it's not like, oh, $75 billion goes to Nvidia or Broadcom or stuff like that. Well, maybe Broadcom, yes, a lot of that will go to them. But yeah, other than that, still good commentary.
Um, let's see. There's a lot of other questions here, Neil. I don't know how to pick one, so just pick one. Do, 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 do.
Let's see. Someone wants to hear about my bad experience with Nvidia. The bad experience is that it was a small company that I owned a couple of years ago, sold after a 3x or so. Could have been more.
Let's see, Neil. Just quick question here. Any thoughts on Nike? PC asked, I think, twice on this. I normally
Um,
I don't follow it, Neil. I'm actually, if I buy shoes nowadays, is actually on shoes. So that as a consumer, that's all I can share.
yeah, okay. I also bought my first on pair a couple of months ago, but I also bought Nike shoes for a 10K run that I still didn't do. But the company itself, I mean, it's iconic brand, but the CEO coming in already said that the turnaround is going to take longer than previously expected. So in the meantime, I guess you can collect your dividend, but other than that, it's not something that would excite me that much.
Agreed, Neil. Here we have one from Stephanie. Maybe a lot of people fears of capex of Max 7 because of DeepSeek. I think after these earnings, Neil, I think we can kind of put those fears away for now. And I'm just gonna say, we're gonna continue to get moments where AI becomes cheaper throughout the months. I think that's expected, right? As you continue to innovate in the AI space, you expect it to get cheaper. I mean, in forms of token, I think four GPT-4 was cheaper than 3. Now we're looking at O3 Mini is way cheaper than O1 in the reasoning model. So improvements like that happen. And I think stuff like that is just going to create more opportunities in the AI space, or maybe some cool down that might be necessary as well.
Yeah, plus people need to understand that even in the cloud cycle, cloud build out cycle, we were not at the end of it, right? We were still building out that capacity. And now you have all of that AI that you have to add on top. I mean, if you really want to modernize the whole planet, there's still a long, long way to go. And even if things become cheaper, for first of all, cheaper is better for everyone. So yeah, these big companies are not really going to stop and say, oh, you know what, actually, maybe we should not be building out all of these AI factories and infrastructure because, well, things might get a little bit cheaper. No, they're going to continue to go on the aggressive, on the offensive, build out more and continue to dominate in each and every field. Because remember, we're still very, very early in that cycle. All of the applications, programs, products still need to get built out. So the cheaper, the better.
Thanks, Neil. We have another question here from Alton. Similar question. Do you think comments about capex and Amazon's earnings will have significant impact on Nvidia and or ASML? I think it could have some impact on companies like Nvidia, and just how Google had impact, in my opinion, for Nvidia and Broadcom. It would see a capex improvement in Amazon. We would see positive returns on Nvidia and Marvell, because Marvell is Google's Broadcom's version, right? Or so there. The second thing is on ASML. I don't think so, Neil. I mean, for AI chips and ASML helps companies develop, help with the manufacturing of semiconductors. While AI chips are expensive, they're not the ones that build the volume, right? It's the while the H100 sells and the H200 and the MI300 are selling for more expensive, the actual volume of these chips are so much more smaller than the consumer products, than the phone chips, right? Where you're selling millions and millions of phones per quarter. So I don't think capex from Amazon should impact too much ASML. What ASML really depends on are those consumer markets, the phone industry, the PC industry, the tablet industry, the smartwatch industry. And those are the high volume products. And that's where ASML's machines would see a better impact from.
Yeah, plus, I mean, during the last earnings call, if you want to go more advanced nodes, you're going to need ASML machinery in the future. It's that simple.
Thanks for that. Any question you got here? Uh,
Just quick answer to Roshan. Sorry if that's a mispronunciation, but the Novo Nordisk video is uploaded, but it's scheduled, so you have to wait a little bit for that. There are some questions with full self-driving. Waymo is being tested in multiple areas already in the United States. Definitely, it's working.
Yeah, Brian here responded with San Fran, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Austin, and I think during the earnings call, they even think they already thought of maybe Miami might be one of the places as well. So
Atlanta,
yeah,
I think as well. I think Miami was announced. I think Atlanta, if I remember correctly, not sure. Which goes into this question: is Uber going to vanish after self-driving comes out from the big players? We touched on that a couple of weeks ago with regards to Uber. Both of us are Uber shareholders, and we both believe that, well, we don't see Uber disappearing anytime soon. If you go and look at listen to the earnings call and look at the presentation from yesterday, you're going to see that the presentation starts with addressing the autonomous opportunity. I think they're very well positioned. Waymo's partnering up with them. Lots of other companies are partnering up with them. So in my opinion, they're still going to be the distribution partner for most of the players. Because, I mean, remember, if you're a fleet operator, would you not want to list your fleet on the platform with the best distribution and the most traffic? Just makes the most sense to me.
Neil, let's see. We have thoughts on Nvidia earnings. Nvidia earnings are about a month away. I think they're February 20 something. Um, I think at the end of the day, it's all just going to be dependent on guidance. And more importantly, we have GTC about a month after earnings. I think that's going to be the most important thing, as that's where we're going to hear more about their upcoming products, any great innovations that they're seeing. So earnings, I think usually earnings price is set after kind of the capex. Once you kind of feel what the capex players are saying, um, you don't expect too much from earnings because we already know, hey, look, you should see strong visibility as capex is growing. So it's earnings is usually the time where we get any questions answered about any speculations that might have happened. Maybe we get a lot of questions about DeepSeek. Maybe we learn a little bit more about NVIDIA's inferencing market and how they have a moat in that space, not just in training. So I think those are the questions we're going to get during NVIDIA's earnings. I don't know if that's going to be a make or break moment. Usually it's not. It's usually either when it's down, but it ends up being flat most of the time. I think GTC is going to be the more important portion for Nvidia, and more than likely, Neil, you'll probably see the stock price move up before GTC, and the day of GTC, you kind of get that sell the news type of event. But it's just because you see that run up like the few days before.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, yeah, with Nvidia, the focus will be again how much revenue did they increase quarter over quarter. I mean, it has been a couple of quarters where it has been the same. I think four billions each and every quarter an increase, if I'm not mistaken. Then yeah, just to hear the future plans, roadmap for 25, 26, demand for Blackwell, any delays, yes, no, and then of course the next one, it's Ruben, right? The next one, yeah,
Yep,
okay.
Ruben, and then I forget if they already gave us the one after that. Um, let's see. Yeah, we get a lot of Amazon questions here. Any thoughts on Amazon just before earnings today? What are you looking at? Obviously, as a semiconductor investor, I'm really curious about capex and cloud only. Anything else you might be looking at, Neil?
Yeah, unfortunately, my chat just refreshed. But for Amazon, of course, I think the big attention is going to be on AWS, the growth rates there, um, margins on Amazon AWS. Is that stabilizing? Yes or no? Because it has been increasing since that low, I think a year or so ago. So focus on that. And of course, the capex, are they going to increase? Yes or no? Supply, demand, all the rest, I think should be fine. The larger part of their business, I think they're going to surpass Walmart when it comes to revenue for the first time. But yeah, all in all, subscription should be fine, advertising should be fine, and those are high margin business, extremely growing extremely quickly for Amazon. So maybe a look at free cash flow, because we know cash flow from operations has been increasing quite a lot. Free cash flow as well. Who knows? Maybe a buyback program. Although the stock is at all-time highs, that would be a bit strange. But before there was no cash flow, so free cash flow, so they couldn't really use that. But yeah, maybe a a buyback. I wouldn't like a dividend at all.
Yes. Neil, funny thing, it's like so many people were messing around or making fun of Meta about 2, 3 years ago when it was investing heavily in capex and it was driving free cash flow to either negative or close to negative. Um, did you know that Microsoft is kind of almost there? I think Microsoft's free cash flow for this most recent quarter was about $8 billion, where Meta's is now actually higher than Microsoft's free cash flow. And I think Microsoft might be one of the other mega tech caps that on a quarterly basis, those are quarterly numbers, might start to get closer and closer to a zero free cash flow as it invests in AI. So I want to see how the other players are doing in that space.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's quite interesting. Quite interesting. But yeah, with Amazon, I think, I mean, now that they're turning on their profitability machine, it's incredible to see like how quickly they can just go from no free cash flow at all to just billions and billions of dollars in free cash flow each and every quarter. It's insane.
I want to take this one here. Matthew asks, if self-driving cars ever hurt someone, how long will that set self-driving? I mean, the only kind of answer I had was kind of like a smart common is like when someone with a license hit someone, did it set back licenses in general? So I think the answer was no, right? So as long as data proves that you're less likely, it's all about not individual cases, but it's more looking at, and unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's all about data. How many accidents happen per 1,000 people per 1,000 miles or something like that? That's what's going to be the most crucial aspect. I don't think it's going to be an individual event like this, because even with manual driving, you'll get events like this happening on a daily basis. And we still all get to get our license at 16, 17, 18, whatever state you live in or wherever you live in.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to create a lot of headlines. It's probably going to be days where Uber and Lyft are going to go up a lot because of those headlines. But at the end of the day, like you said, if the data shows that in the grand scheme of things, it is much safer, that's the most important part.
Um, let's see, Neil. If you've,
I think Matthew also
oh,
asked this one with regards to Prime cost. We've seen that with Netflix and I think Spotify as well, increasing cost. To be honest, I think Prime is probably the best subscription service out there, price to quality. In my opinion, it's really not that expensive for everything that you get. You get Prime Video, plus you get all of those shopping benefits and whatnot. I think the US, it's even better. So, I mean, even if they increase it a little bit, it's still extreme value.
I'm muted. Let's see here. One from Greg. The bottleneck for Nvidia earnings last time was supply constraint. Hope that pattern is different this time. Greg, I don't think it's going to be different this time. And I think as an investor, you might want that. Um, it means that there's still just so much demand out there, and Nvidia can't produce the chips fast enough. Well, TSMC can't produce the chips fast enough, right? So, um, I think the market will react very scary if the opposite happens. If Nvidia says, "Hey, look, we're no longer supply constraint. Now we don't have as much visibility as we did before." Um, we've seen it with some other companies when supply constraint is the biggest thing. Is investors sometimes like the visibility. They like to know that you're supply constraint right now. So we know demand is going to be there at least for the next quarter and the next few quarters. But when you stop to be supply constrained, you kind of you now have more potential growth, but you limit that safety. And I wonder if Nvidia investors enjoy that safety right now of being supply constrained. Neil, I actually think this is another reason why maybe the cycle is going to be a little bit longer for data centers. Normally in data centers, right, they do a lot of huge orders in whatever product they're trying to buy back. And they do too many orders that eventually they have too much inventory. But with Nvidia being supply constrained, even if these companies want to spend more money, Nvidia's like, sorry, we can't really give you more chips. And I think that alone is creating another stability on this cycle where you're not getting all the overspending at once. And if it is, it's like, oh, you're spending right now on the H100, but now you can spend on the B200, which is a lot better. So it's okay if you spend more money on it. So I think this supply constraint might not seem like it, but I think it's a nice safety net for Nvidia.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like they are selling as much as they can. It's not like, oh, we have like 900 orders, but we have 10, but we have 1,000 products behind us. No, they have 1,000 products and 1,000 products are being shipped out. If they could ship out 2,000, they would probably ship out 2,000. Um, every big player wants Nvidia chips. Every big player wants them. So as long as they can ship out more and more, I think they'll be fine. Of course, afterwards it's up for debate whether or not you really need that much, etc., etc. But as of now, I really find it hard to believe that there is going to be an extreme slowdown in demand for Nvidia products.
Yeah, and I think this is why Nvidia has done so well, with, like not picking a favorite in customers, and they like distribute it evenly to whoever is there, right? And right now, It's not just hyperscalers buying it, right? You have your AI companies like XAI, you have your AI companies internationally that are also doing it. So that now you have limited supply, and then you're limiting how much you're sending to each player, which again controls that inventory balance where maybe you didn't give too much confidence on your customers that they would be able to do, that they might just be overbuying. So you're creating that for them. Um, but again, I might just be crazy.
No, plus, I mean, when there is so much demand and you are supply constraint, you can ask a higher price, which is why margins at Nvidia are super, super high because people are paying a quite a big premium to get those products. Unlike with what Greg here is saying, advanced package constraints.
All right, Neil, any other question you might want to grab? Um, I don't see. Oh, this is true. Brian, I agree. YouTube Premium offers pretty high value. I forget what ads are. I every
Yeah,
time I go to a friend's house and they have ads, I tell them we're no longer friends.
they could have offered YouTube Premium for free for creators like us. Once you reach, I don't know, 50, 60,000 subscribers, here, have a YouTube Premium on the house. Wouldn't be
I
too much
agree.
to ask.
I know, right? We're giving them plenty of ad money here.
Let's see what we
Neil,
get.
Eddie, do you follow this stock? We have one from Canadian, not tech related, but any thoughts on MRK? Stock you follow, Neil, or any updates on that you might know about?
What's that, Merck? No, I just
Merck.
know that they're working with, no, what's the company? I forgot. They're working with, somebody can tell me in the comment section, on a
Don't tell
cancer
them.
treatment on a cancer treatment drug. Which
Yeah,
company is that?
it's one of the
I
big
should
ones.
I should know. With Moderna. What an
But,
idiot. Yeah, with Moderna. I recently talked about it. Um, I don't know. It's a pretty big company, of course, but just looking at the stock, there are probably some issues right now with the company. I guess we'll have to dive a little bit deeper to understand it, but no, it's not something I follow closely.
Matt, how about this one, Neil? Any opinions on Hershey's?
I know they reported this week, maybe yesterday.
Oh, well,
I
up
guess,
4%. Hey, bullish on that
yeah,
chocolate game.
probably because cacao prices might have come down a little bit, because this is one of the main reasons why we are
Oh,
seeing this drop, because cacao prices, I think in West Africa, there were some issues there. So the prices, I don't know, doubled, tripled, or maybe even more. And obviously it hurts a company like Hershey's. But yeah, it's not even good chocolate. So I don't even know why people buy it. I'm from Belgium. I know good chocolate
one time we meet, Neil, you got to bring me some good chocolate then.
for sure.
Um, I like this question, Neil, from BC. Do you think spending on AI chips will increase quarter after quarter? I don't think so, Neil. And I think this is very important for AI investors to know. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Um, Chip development is interesting and it's not always linear. And I think this is why big tech players, during every time they mention capex, they mention that they give you a yearly time frame. They don't give you too much a quarterly time frame, because on a quarterly basis things can fluctuate. The actual shipment of these big systems can have hiccups. They might be delayed in the port. They might be delayed in the trucking shipments. It's something, because they're so massive. So just because you see a weakness in a quarter doesn't necessarily correlate to a bad case. Obviously, it could be seen as a yellow flag, but it's more understanding. Was it because of a timing issue that ships got delayed somewhere, or was it more of just, hey, look, we're just not spending more? So there's a little bit more behind it. There. And also, Neil, I think this is why it's important to understand capex. Remember, capex is everything that they're investing. It's not just AI chips. So you might see a lower capex in data center infrastructure, but you could still see a growth in AI chips. So things like that could create buying opportunities in whatever AI company you're looking at. And that's why it's important to maybe take a step after to see where the money is really going right now.
No, I agree. I know we didn't touch on this, but Qualcomm to me is a company that, I mean, is now down 4.2% after they reported, in my opinion, a stellar quarter. Guidance was also quite good. And, with this push of AI on device, I really don't see how Qualcomm doesn't become a big beneficiary of that. Whether it's smartphone, I mean, they dominate the smartphone market, automotive, PCs to be seen what happens with that. But Qualcomm, I mean, to me, it's quite ridiculous seeing it down 4.2%. ARM is only down 3.4% while being valued at, I mean, market cap wise, I think both of them are quite similar. And I think one company just generates 10 times more revenue than the other. It's insane. It's insane. But yeah, any opinions on Qualcomm overall?
No, I agree, Neil. I think bringing device AI locally is going to be a huge win for Qualcomm. And things like Internet of Things, the AR market, the VR market, what smartphone market. So I think they have a great tailwind there. Now the market, now the question is, right, back to kind of like that multi-year thing. When is consumer AI really, really going to pick up? When is everybody going to be wearing some form of AI watch, AI glasses, or something that is going to drive that demand?
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Let's see if we can answer a couple of extra, and then we should call it a day.
Mhm.
Um, I think I found some, but it's. I have to scroll back up.
Yeah. And I don't have much, and I am gonna have to leave out just because my little one is sick, y'all. So if not, I would have stayed longer here. But Neil,
Yeah, no, I
appreciate
think
it.
it's good enough.
And to the listeners, we appreciate the questions, right, Neil. I mean, sometimes we try to think of things to plan, but when you guys have all these questions, it allows us to just share overall thoughts of what we learned. So appreciate the support from everybody. Make sure to hit the thumbs up, to subscribe if you haven't. Um, we're here every Tuesday and Thursday, right, Neil? And hopefully, eventually, we start doing maybe more. But right now, those are the 2 days we're doing around this time frame.
Yep, exactly. I think both of us will already cover a couple of extra earnings reports on our own channels. I know I'll do Amazon later today, so stay tuned for that. And then for any Nvidia news, you can go to this guy's
Yeah,
channel with
this
new
guy's
thumbnails. With new
new
thumbnails, I've seen.
thumbnails. Yeah, definitely stepping up my creative game, Neil.
For sure. So, anyways, thank you all for joining. We'll see you next Tuesday.